2024 is the biggest global election year in modern history. Citizens from more than 70 countries go to the polls, representing over half of the world's population. Results from these elections could shape climate action for decades. They may determine whether humanity can correct its dangerous trajectory of global warming. Notably, voters from 5 of the world's biggest carbon-emitting territories cast their ballots. In particular, US elections could determine the future of global climate policies. The CEO of Total Energy, Patrick Pouyanné, has stated that the energy transition will unfold at the pace set by the United States. Geopolitical conflicts have caused disruptions in value chains and hiked energy costs, diverting attention away from sustainability issues. Although voting occurred across the world, electoral conditions were not always free. Clampdowns on civil society, especially the targeting of environmental activists, have fueled human rights abuses, as seen in Tanzania ahead of its November elections. Chaos and drama have entangled campaigns, intensified by polarization.
Take a look at what happened.
Je suis, atterrée et 2, extrêmement en colère.
On vous sent très ému.
Très émue, parce que ça fait 10 ans que je vis dans une ville tenue par le Rassemblement national.
Winning elections in 2024 was built on running a strong, consequential campaign that places emotive politics at the center. However, environmental concerns and climate change were not hot-button issues for voters this year. This lack of strong sentiment behind climate issues has meant that they have barely featured in most 2024 campaigns. In the US presidential debate, only one question during the 90-minute period concerned climate change. In the European Parliament, the Green Party lost around a quarter of their seats. Sustainability simply isn't winning hearts as the single most important issue in elections. In emerging countries, such as Venezuela, Iran, and Jordan, the already severe impacts of global warming have not led to a greater focus on the environment during elections. These challenges are either not seen as existential threats, or, if they are, they're perceived as intangible and unsolvable. Notable exceptions exist, for example in Panama, where pre-election youth protests led to the closure of an open-pit copper mine, accounting for 5% of the country's GDP. This very topic coalesced voters' interests, and politicians from all sides were urged to position themselves on sustainability. Broadly speaking, greater youth political engagement tends to drive a firmer response to climate issues, bringing climate change and sustainability to the forefront of political campaigns. The most notable trend is the rise of conservative and far-right parties, which is often accompanied by an anti-climate backlash. Ecological policies face heightened criticism and are painted as a burden which undermines the economy, including competitivity, employment, wages, etc., without mentioning their benefits nor the cost of inaction or alternative policies.
C'est qu'il y a un backlash écologiste en ce moment, je suis obligée de le reconnaître.
Beyond jobs and competitivity, concerns were also voiced regarding the affordability of green solutions. A key example of this discourse is the pushback against the EU and UK ban on the sale of new gasoline vehicles by 2035.
Je suis opposé à cette mesure. Il n'y a que ceux qui gagnent très bien leur vie qui pourront s'acheter un véhicule. Donc,
with parties facing scrutiny for their handling of ecological issues, they tend to favor buzzwords and aspirational rhetoric meant to appease all relevant stakeholders.
A stronger Europe that implements what it agrees in a fair way and that sticks to the targets of the European Green Deal with pragmatism, technology neutrality and innovation.
Je crois, et depuis longtemps, à une écologie des solutions.
Et non pas via la décroissance, comme vous le proposez, Monsieur Bompard, finalement, dans votre projet.
moi, l'ambition que je porte, c'est celle de refaire de la France un paradis énergétique.
Il n'y a rien de pire que l'écologie quand elle n'est pas faite par des écologistes. Parce que ça se transforme en mesures péremptoires, punitives. On dit parfois c'est l'écologie punitive. Mais l'écologie punitive, c'est pas la mienne, c'est pas la nôtre. Nous, c'est l'écologie de la joie, une écologie de justice, d'espoir, de redistribution, de redonner du pouvoir de vivre.
But in practice, candidates often have trouble positioning themselves on specific topics or technologies.
parti, la France Insoumise, dit il faut arrêter avec le
Ma
nucléaire.
position personnelle.
Et une personne qui dit il faut arrêter avec les énergies renouvelables. Attendez, vous êtes en train de changer d'avis à nouveau sur les éoliennes?
Mais non, je viens de vous dire que les éoliennes, j'étais opposé.
Ce que le nouveau Front populaire décide sur le nucléaire.
Sur le nucléaire, on n'a pas bien
Votre
compris,
position, nous sommes dans une coalition, et dans cette coalition, il y a certaines personnes qui ne sont pas du même point de vue que moi. Et donc comment on va faire?
Long-standing positions are evolving. For instance, the Green Party in Germany is reversing its firm anti-nuclear stance following voters' changing opinions. These inconsistent approaches to ecological issues explained a tendency to adopt an en même temps, or at the same time, strategy, referring to one of the political trademarks of President Emmanuel Macron. This strategy entails a wary balancing act, flaunting ambitious ideals that are ultimately tempered by substantial concessions or counteractions. For example, in France, newly elected Prime Minister Michel Barnier stated,
Je dirai la vérité sur la réalité de l'impact de notre mode de vie, de notre économie, sur l'environnement. Nous pouvons et nous devons faire plus pour lutter contre le changement climatique, préserver la biodiversité. Ensemble, ainsi, nous devons maîtriser, poursuivant les efforts engagés, nos besoins d'énergie en faisant preuve de sobriété et d'efficacité. En attendant, le diagnostic de performance énergétique sera simplifié et son calendrier sera adapté. Nous devons faire évoluer de manière pragmatique et différenciée la réglementation zéro artificialisation nette pour répondre aux besoins essentiels de l'industrie et du logement.
Similarly, beyond France, politicians have spoken on the issue.
We must be faster and simpler because Europe is decarbonizing and industrializing at the same time.
We will continue to promote energy sovereignty by fortifying Pemex and the Federal Electric Commission, and we will also give emphasis to renewable energies that guarantee Mexico's goals to curb climate change.
We know that we can actually deal with this issue. The young people of America care deeply about this issue. And I am proud that as Vice President over the last 4 years, we have invested $1 trillion in a clean energy economy, while we have also increased domestic gas production to historic levels.
In this context, tackling the ecological transition through the prism of industrial policies was the most strategic move for politicians in 2024. This rhetoric appeases voters and companies alike, while also allowing politicians to add a degree of nationalistic fervor on the subject of remaining competitive.
Our first priority will be prosperity and competitiveness. We need less reporting, less bureaucracy, more trust, better enforcement, more faster permitting. We will stay the course on our growth strategy, and this is why I will put forward a new clean industrial deal.
What we need has become crystal clear. Growth. Economic growth is the oxygen for our ambitions, the lifeblood of a strong society and a successful economy. We will make Britain a clean energy superpower.
La transition écologique doit être l'un des moteurs de notre politique industrielle.
In India, the expansion of renewables was poised to continue following Modi's re-election. During campaigns, he framed climate concerns through the lens of energy security, implying a continued reliance on fossil fuels. Claudia Sheinbaum and Kamala Harris also took this strategy, speaking to concerns about global warming while touting policies which maintain the status quo. The emphasis on economic interests is also evident in Indonesia. Here, campaigns emphasized economic gains and competitiveness, perpetuating, for instance, cheap, environmentally damaging nickel and coal extraction. Although decarbonization efforts were mentioned, they remain secondary to industrial policy and economic priorities, following the global trend. The ascendance of the competitivity mindset has catalyzed a global protectionist movement, with nations citing domestic security concerns to account for escalated fossil fuel production. As the collective action approach for addressing climate change erodes, countries prioritize energy self-sufficiency, risking the irretrievable loss of historical cooperation in the fight against environmental degradation. So what is the role for ESG in light of these shifts? Sustainable finance is suffering as a result of elections around the world. ESG is increasingly politicized in the US context, and many key voices in the EU have voiced frustration with extensive regulation.
Moi, j'appelle à la pause réglementaire européenne.
Oui, l'Union européenne aujourd'hui est à la fois anti-sociale et anti-business et anti-entreprise parce que précisément la multiplication des normes environnementales, la CSRD, la directive sur le devoir de vigilance, crée aujourd'hui une inflation de normes pour nos chefs d'entreprise qui n'est plus tenable.
These people are sick. These poorly performing woke financial scams are radical left garbage that would never be funded on their own. And certainly never be funded on their own merits. The entire ESG scheme is designed to funnel your retirement money to the maniacs on the radical left.
As 2024 comes to a close, the world may appear to be grappling with seismic shifts in the perception of sustainability. Beneath the surface, however, civil servants, companies, and organizations are quietly enacting low-intensity yet impactful transformations. While the urgency for climate action intensifies, these efforts endure through the tumult of cyclical elections.